So here's what I think about the future of cataloging, and I actually really did cataloging, not the catalog, although I usually talk about that. So, library thing. Oh yeah, so warning. Library science being practiced without a degree. Okay, what is Library Thing? Library Thing is a social network for bibliophiles. You catalog your books, all you have or just what you're interested in, and then the books you have connect you with other people. Okay? And that's one sentence because I was using semicolons. We have 450,000 registered users who have cataloged 28 million books, so we're soon going to become the largest library in the world, quotes. 37 million tags have been applied. The largest library-sponsored tagging project, Pen Tags, has accumulated in its lifetime, which is almost as long as Library Thing, fewer tags than Library Thing adds every single day. So this is where the tags are happening, for whatever reason. We've got a lot of imitators, some of them actually fairly important now. So Shelfari, Goodreads, iRead, Visual Bookshelf. However, none of them in any way care about, link to, draw data from, or otherwise are interested in you and in libraries generally, right? They tend to appeal more to younger people who don't know you exist. So Library Thing is your friend. Okay, Library Thing usage often has a sort of ladder to it. You start off with personal cataloging. That's really what the site started off as. And then from that comes this social networking. And from that comes something I call social cataloging. And I'm going to talk about two different types: implicit social cataloging that happens in the course of normal business, and explicit, where you pretty much know what you're doing. Let me start off with explicit. Here's the catalog of one of our more famous members, Thomas Jefferson. Okay, Thomas Jefferson had his books cataloged by Millicent Sowerby some time ago, and members went ahead and added all the books in that catalog, drawing on a large number of libraries that Library Thing draws from, coming up with a really excellent catalog of Jefferson's work, which is now available to every student in the country, easily searched, browsed. I can even know what books I share with Thomas Jefferson over here, right? Which is a lot, because I was a classics graduate student, and people used to read a lot of classics. So here's a view of his library. Incidentally, someone also took the trouble to take all of the references from his papers to any of the books in this catalog and put them in as comments. So if in some letter to a Virginian youngster he said, you should really read Plato's, Republic, then someone's put that in the comments. Really a cool, valuable service. Here's John Adams, his opponent in life, but he shares the most books with Thomas Jefferson on Library Thing. So an interesting fact about our mental universes there. Marie Antoinette. An interesting one because this is a personal reading library. It's not some official library. Samuel Johnson, Susan B. Anthony, the Mather family. This is one of the libraries on Library Thing that is actually a work of original scholarship. This part of the site's been taken over by one of the archivists for the Mass Historical Society, and he has brought together for the first time a library of all the Mathers, and did a lot of original work himself, tracking down volumes, and so this is pretty excellent. Isabella Stewart Gardner, Auden, Hemingway, 7,000 books, an enormous amount about fishing and bullfighting and so forth. Walker Percy, Ezra Pound, Sylvia Plath, F. Scott Fitzgerald, all of this work done by regular Library Thing members in their spare time. Here's Samuel Roth, famous pornographer, and here is Tupac Shakur, famous rapper, who shares one book with me, The Dictionary of Cultural Literacy, and one book with Jefferson, which is Machiavelli's The Prince. Okay, here's a book, some random Star Wars book to you and to me as well. Down here we have a section that Library Thing calls Common Knowledge. And the idea here was, let's catalog the things that aren't in library records and aren't in publisher Onyx records. So series to some extent is, but things like people and characters, right? What other books have Jaina Solo in them, right? Whatever that is, awards and honors, publishers, editors. I'm going to skip here to the Star Wars series. This is the Star Wars series on Library Thing, 480 titles. The covers come from Amazon, or many of them were uploaded by members. Okay, huge number, right? a complicated numbering system, A, B, Y, and so forth. This means something to Star Wars people, right? Now, I believe, and then over here we've got related series, right? We've got the Star Wars Young Jedi Knight series is a sub-series of this, Rogue Squadron, right? This page encapsulates more accurate information about the Star Wars books and how they relate to each other than anyone in this room has, I hope, right? And then I believe has ever been assembled, okay? So if you want to, who is the expert when it comes to the Star Wars books? It's these guys, right? It's the people who did this. Here is we're doing plugs, so this is my wife's third novel, Love in the Asylum by Lisa Carey, which is out in stores, and it's great. The LCSHs for this book include alcoholism and do not include anything about Native Americans. Well, the book has really nothing about alcoholism, and it has a lot about Native Americans. Well, how did this come about? The flap copy talks about alcoholism and doesn't talk about Native Americans. And the cataloging was fundamentally not done from reading the book. The cataloging was done from reading the flap copy, which means that the LC record is fundamentally cataloged by some publicist at HarperCollins, okay? Not by someone who knew the book. On Library Thing, the tags that people use do not include alcoholism, do include Native Americans, although rather small. Okay. Here's the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn on Library Thing. You'll notice the tags. You'll notice there's 9,700 members who have this book. Here's all of the editions of Huckleberry Finn. I'm just going to scroll through them here. Hundreds and hundreds of editions. How does Library Thing know to put them all together? Regular users have combined them. Okay? On Library Thing, it helps to combine works. If I add the Finnish edition of Huckleberry Finn, by combining it with the other editions, I've made new friends, right? So Library Thing members all day long are combining works, more than 1,000 work combinations every single day, which is at least 2,000 works combined. Okay? That's done, by the way, with authors. So Mark Twain includes Samuel Clemens because someone on Library Thing said that he did. The FBI, by the way, includes a large number of variants, too. Here's the tag cooking on Library Thing, okay? What's interesting about this primarily, it's really kind of a popularity contest, but what's most interesting is that it's not cookery, okay? Now, I submit that the cookery tag on Library Thing is what you all eat, okay? You guys are really fond of Delia Smith, so. Paranormal romance. Right? Something that a traditional cataloging will never get into. This has been used almost 8,000 times by 500 users. This is as real as anything in the Library of Congress, okay? And there's an infinitude of these terms, cyberpunk, steampunk, it goes on and on, cozy mysteries. Okay, here's, Roy mentioned my tag meshes. I want to show you one. So very few people will tag a book nonfiction about France during World War II. But they will tag a book, France, World War II, and then if we cut out the fiction, we get a pretty good list of books that are nonfiction about France during World War II. So you get some of the power of hierarchy, not all of it, but some of the power of hierarchy from large, large quantities of user tags. And notably here, in tags, this is paranormal romance, but these are really, really good examples. This is the paranormal romance reading list. Way down at the bottom are things that people think is, that only a few people think is paranormal romance. So relevancy is built into the system in a way that something like love stories on LCSH isn't. Everything is equally a love story on LCSH. Okay. Or not at all.